Right where you are is correct.
Go.
Yep.
All right. Thanks everybody for coming to the January 2026 meeting of the Baton Rouge user groups. For those of you that don't know, my name is Kenny. Thomas LeBlanc is co-leader of the group, and he's going to be doing our main presentation tonight. We are streaming to YouTube, thanks to Andy. Like and subscribe, Andy.
You smashed that like
Smash that, ring that bell. If you're new here, thank you for coming. We're glad you're here. We meet every month, typically on the second Wednesday of the month. We had to shift around this month and I think next month because of conflicts with the library. But if you follow us on Meetup, you'll see all the dates. That should be accurate. Andy is going to be our main presenter next month as well. I don't remember what your topic is.
Fabric notebooks.
Fabric notebooks. So skip it. But no, that's going to be real good. And then we've got a sponsor for next month's meeting, so we'll have some better food.
Steak.
I don't know if it's that good.
Ribs.
Andy, is that what you're presenting up in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you're interested in presenting to the group, we don't fight. You can do any amount of time you want, anywhere from a 15-minute lightning talk to a full 45-minute to an hour presentation. You can come here to our Sessionize page, sessionize.com/BRUG, and just fill out this form. I don't know where your mouse went, but fill it out. Fill out all your information, and we'll get back with you and get you slotted in. Like I said, we have a schedule. We have a speaker schedule for next month, and then that's it. I don't have anybody else. So if you're interested, please do that. If you know somebody that would be that you'd like to hear, let us know. We'll reach out, see what we can do. Our big event coming up in July is SQL Saturday, Day of Data, Baton Rouge, 2026. The call for speakers is open for that if you're interested. Also, the call for sponsors is open for that. If your company would like to have a presence there, we get about 350 to 400 of our closest friends, and we just spend all day at LSU. We get speakers from all around the country, and the local areas, you know, New Orleans, Lafayette, will come. It's an all-day thing. We'll feed you. Well worth it. What else?
Every penny you spend on.
It's worth. I'll give you double your money back if you're not satisfied. I've run out of things to say. Thomas, am I missing anything?
No.
Okay, well, then get up here.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas LeBlanc.
So, before I came to do the talk, I'd go to the bathroom, and a lady asked me, she said, do you get nervous before you do a talk? I'm like, no, I've been doing it for like 10 or 15 years.
There's a lady in the bathroom.
Yeah,
She looked at me and she said, what are you doing in the ladies' bathroom? Hopefully all the nervousness gets out of me. What's being shown?
That's your other monitor. So just
Why did you tell me that?
that's what it was on before.
Too bad. I stepped on your punchline there, Thomas. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Exactly. I started the joke off wrong anyway. So. Oh wait, why does it keep switching? Okay, good. All right, so this talk's called Enhancing Power BI with Copilot. It was Power BI development with Copilot, but I couldn't quite find enough development things to really make it focused just on that. So we'll look at Copilot all around Power BI. I'm a data architect. I say currently, it changes frequently. I currently work at a company called SHI International. But our agenda today, we're going to look at visuals. DAX, report services, something called a data agent, which I think is real good, and then settings. So over time of doing talks, I noticed if I start with a lot of slides and try to explain the setup parts, it delays all the demos. And if you're doing a lot of demos, they don't always work. So you're stretched for time. You don't get to do it. So even me just blabbering my mouth right now is wasting time that could have been to better use of showing you a demo. So we're going to do the settings at the end if we get to them of how you can set all this up. So the first one I'm going to talk about, so visuals or Power BI visuals is something that someone looks at visually on a report. There's one called narrative text, and it's always been there. If you don't know this, if you haven't been to a previous talk I've done, because I've actually shown narrative text, but narrative text has actually been modified to put Copilot in it. So basically, I have a report here, a set of visuals. Some people might. There's a lot of terms I see running around, like a dashboard versus a scorecard versus KPIs. And so, this is like two KPIs on the top of the margins. IS means internet sales and RS means reseller sales. So I'm just abbreviating to not make a busy screen. Whereas we have a table, or in this case, it's called a matrix, because you can see we could put hierarchies in our column before we display the numbers. I refrain from using a pie chart because people say you shouldn't use pie charts. So I've used a donut chart instead of a pie chart. And then there's a map, and the size of the little dot is based on a value, which is pretty cool. So someone like an analyst might want to know more about this data. They might have someone that has a dashboard that might have an indicator in the morning to say the margin is low on such and such product. Can you tell me why? The analyst goes in and tries to figure it out. And that's kind of reacting to what someone's asking you to do. So you might want to say, hey, based on this set of visuals, what can I find inside of this particular data? And so let me make sure I've got my zoom. I don't use zoom in to zoom in as much as I use it for the drawer, because I like to draw. No one gets that joke.
No.
6. I don't know. What do you say? I'm 6 years old. You don't remember that from Saturday Night Live? So, not. I'm gonna shut some things down real quick. Did I not get that right? My drawer is Control-2. Oh, I'll skip that. Okay, so over here, there's actually a set of kind of AI related visuals in Power BI. And it's kind of like these right here, the R and so forth. But there's one here, it's called narrative. So if I'm just adding a visual to the report, it's going to put it in a little spot that's empty, or maybe where the last place I click. And you'll notice that there's a button now that says Copilot versus custom. So in Power BI, if you don't already know this, if you put a text type box on there, you can actually add, as you're typing text, you can add columns from your field map in it, which is pretty neat. But it takes some fluency in doing this sort of thing. But lo and behold, it used to be you would select these questions and it would populate the narrative text. But now you got a Copilot. So Copilot's hooked up into the narrative text now, and it automatically just says, okay, let's just summarize the data. And it actually you can see the narrative text is filled already, but it has some general things like give me an executive summary, create a bullet list of insights, answer likely questions from leadership. So if I delete what's inside of here and I click on answer likely questions and I hit update, you'll see the refresh happening over here. It's kind of like a little circle, and then you see it refreshes. And so we put in some values. It says likely leadership questions, answers. What's the overall IS and RS marginals? And it gives you 2 values. You can't see it, I don't think, from where y'all are at, but there's little annotations on the side. And if you actually go to the annotation, it'll actually click on it and highlight where it got that particular data from, which is pretty convenient. And if it did something it didn't get from the screen, then it won't show you anything. It'll just kind of tell you what that is. So why did it do that? Because I put the narrative on this screen or this tab in the report, called tabs, I think they call them pages, Power BI does. And it's just summarizing or doing the narrative text based on what's inside of here. Now, if I didn't like that particular thing and I wanted something else, I could, say talk about thingies. I didn't make up thingies. I was watching a video today and a lady said that. So I didn't make that up. But it says there's content in your request or data that I'm unable to work with. So it doesn't recognize thingies, but we can make it understand things. There's a button in the top that says prep data. I'm up here at the top right. We're going to look more into this later, but it's a prep data for AI. So I can actually prep data for AI and I can have verified answers. So based on a visual, I can tell it, hey, this visual answers these questions like, show me what the thingies are. And then I'm training this Copilot, not Copilot, but this data set to answer the question, what is a thingy? By relating or using a synonym for reseller sales to mean thingy. So that's what you're able to do with this sort of thing. Now, if you notice, I'm prepping it and I've selected verify answers. It gives me nothing to do there, but it tells you what you have to do. The others, you actually do it, simplify the schema, and then add instructions. But what they mean here is I have to go to the visual, click on the ellipse, and then set up a verifiable answer. And it'll give 3 questions. What is the internet sales margin? And I can say, what is the value of thingies? And add that. I'm not too sure if this is going to work, but we'll try it. So let's go back, talk about the thingies. It didn't work in that case. But you get the idea. Okay, so Copilot now is embedded into the narrative text visual, which I think the narrative text visual doesn't get a lot in it. In the real world, people don't talk about it a lot, but it'll actually find things in here that might mean something. Like the second line here says, the United States is the dominant market contributing X% of total sales, and it got that from a calculated insight. So you saw that one? Yeah. So here, it didn't get it from out here. It said calculated insight. So it actually went into the semantic model data to determine that, because there's not anything visual that shows the percent of sales overall for a country. But it actually dug that out and tells you with such and such in sales. Other notable markets include Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. So if I was a data analyst and I'm trying to find insights into the data, I could use a narrative text to start giving me insights to maybe where I should go drill into this. So say this is finished and we're ready to publish it. So I'm going to publish this model, this report and model out to the service. It's going to want me to save it, of course. Got to pick my workspace. Got a lot of workspaces. might be asking me to overwrite, I'll say replace. The reason I'm doing this now is I want to show one more thing that it actually displays at the end of the publishing of the report. And this has always been in there. It's not anything new, but if you want, you can do something called quick insights. And you can do this on almost any semantic model. The quick insights will go out onto the service and then do an analysis just like that Copilot within a narrative text just did, and it'll give me insights into this whole data model. The thing I see this, I don't know if y'all, I still read a newspaper, and then I'll still look at things online, and every once in a while you'll see a visual, but a lot of narrative text to the right of it. I think that's where this basically has come from, where you got a visual, you can start typing and adding to your narrative what the visual is actually talking about. So in this one, it's got a series. Remember I said quick insights. So it went and created a series of different things. Internet sales has outliers. It's looking at my sales line, sales order line number, which would be irrelevant because line number is 1, 2, 3, 4 in the sales. So, some of you gotta go. There's a correlation between sales and cost, one little outlier, so, that one might be something you would actually, go look at. So on a particular day, the cost wasn't in direct correlation to the sales. So maybe there's a big discount that day. And inside of here, there's sales reasons for sales. So you might go look and place sales reason on this particular visual to see if at that day there was some big discount or some sort of sale. You get the idea? Yes, no, maybe so. You want me to tell another bad joke?
Yes, please.
All right, so what's the next one? Q&A.
When you publish this, is that as a narrative text box, is that interactive for the user? Like, can they ask different questions, or is it just?
Great question, sir.
Thank you.
So your question, if I'm understanding it right, is if I go publish this, and I got my narrative here, does it interact and change as I change?
Like, can I ask it different questions?
Ask it different. Well, we're not going to ask it. You're not going to, once you publish it, you can't go change the questions.
Right.
So the prompt stays the same when it's published.
Correct.
Like, I can't put in my own prompts.
When you create it, yes.
No, but as a user.
No, you cannot. Well, unless you edit the report. So there's an edit button here. If I can't edit the report
No, right,
in
but
the service, I can do that.
If I hand this to my non-tech savvy business user who just
No.
wants, they can't type "show me month to date sales" for this.
They can't show it within the narrative, but they still could use Copilot once it's deployed. We'll look at that where we're using it in the service.
It's very easy. So you kind of like injected context into the model, right, or into the Copilot, right, with your thingies example. Is there an easy way to share context across lots of different reports? If you have some very niche business concept and you want to make sure, regardless of the report being generated in the workspace, that it knows what that thing is?
Yeah. So good question. So he's saying if I got multiple reports and I went in one report and said, this is the definition of thingy, does that go and handle in all reports? So this Power BI report has behind it a semantic model. So if I were in a development environment for Power BI and had multiple reports that looked at the same data, I would create one semantic model and build multiple reports off of that model. And then if I'm changing the context in the model's report, then it's available to all of them. But if I'm individually pulling my own data, doing my own report, this one's pulling his own data, doing his own report, no, they won't be. It's a good governance to say we should have one model with a full design and people building their own reports off of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So my understanding is like whenever you go into the edit on there and you're training the model there, you're actually just providing context for the Copilot model, not actually doing the training, correct?
Correct. It's like and we're about to do
You're adding
Q&A,
context,
which
like
has what's called synonyms.
Right.
We're building a synonym to it. It's like we could jump about 5 more slides and get to more about that.
Right.
But yeah, but what I was thinking he was asking was, does my numbers here, does this calculation change? If I change the filtering? Yeah, it does.
And
Why?
the whole summary.
If I click that, then you see the little dial went, and it actually changed inside of there. So it does interact just like visuals interact. Okay, that's what I thought you were saying.
Can you actually get down to the level where your actual, report, the graphs, can be changed to represent, what represents this data better versus a pie chart, a graph?
Yeah, y'all are going all kinds of, wow. Y'all need like a whole Power BI day-long class. Yeah, there's something called, what is it called? User can go in and go to the ellipse if it's on, and it's not on mine. But there's a way to say to the user, you can change the graph on this visual. So, and when you publish it, it's published as a matrix, and I can click on the ellipse and then switch the visual. Yeah, so there is that option. A lot of people don't know about that, but it is there. That's, and it also depends on what you're doing. So I can do that same get insights, and then it start flipping through different types of visuals. Or there's this explore this data, which brings it into like its own builder. You know, this is like, I mean, we're like going to a whole new talk right now. But yes, you can.
So, were you asking whether Copilot can decide what the best visualization is?
Something like that.
There's a lot of options. There's a lot.
You know, that's the,
Yeah, so you're saying, I think what I hear you now, you're saying based on the data, automatically select the best visual for it.
Yes.
Yeah. It kind of does that, but there's really no rules other than a time series. You'd want like a line chart, whereas a categorization, you would want a bar chart. So there's some visual design concepts in the world that say you should use this with this kind of data because your legend is a time series, months versus categories, bikes, toys, so spit it out.
For y'all over there, when you ask a question, the mic's over here. And then can you repeat questions? They can't hear you on the stream.
What
They can't hear you.
what
Sorry,
Kenny
they
was
can't-
just saying is that he was asking us to repeat the questions because they are too far away from the orb. Maybe we ought to put the orb on a what are those little machines?
A little drone.
Drum, yeah, put it on a drum. Let it fly.
Maybe a chair. I don't know.
Good questions, though. I mean, that's a lot of that stuff you can do. I'm just trying to stick with Copilot, but y'all going all over the place, man. All right, let me get the next one up. And then close that one.
Quick question while that's loading.
Sure.
For Copilot usage like this, is there license levels that are needed?
Yeah, we're gonna get to the settings at the end.
I'm just wanting the money.
I'm guessing this stuff isn't free.
Believe it or not, this is running on most of the reports here are running on a premium capacity, which would be a Fabric F64, and your Copilot is compute units from that capacity. So you're actually using the capacity, which usually is paid monthly or reserved, just like an Azure resource. So there's not a cost billable by what you're using. It's compute units in your system.
And it's premium required, or can you do it with pro?
Shouldn't even start. Premium is a capacity.
Right.
Pro is a license.
Yep.
I have to have a pro license to develop in the desktop. That is not my capacity. A pro or a premium pro user is not on a capacity, does not use Copilot.
Okay.
You have to have a premium or fabric capacity. All right, where was I at? Say right where you left off. That's what someone told me one day. All right, so the next one was QA, question and answer. I got a joke on the screen that says gone, because they said it was removed, but for some reason I could still use it. What just happened? I thought I deleted that. All right, so I'm gonna go to that same little well, and there's a Q&A. And you'll notice, and I'll make it bigger this time so you guys see it. It actually has some default questions like, what is the IS sales by city? If I click on that and then run it, it'll create it. So here in Q&A, I asked it a question and it thought, what is the best visual to show this? It said bars from top to bottom, sideways instead of up and down, probably because of the number of attributes on this column. So it's intelligently picked it from the question. So this has always been there. And if you notice, there's these little blue lines under it. That means it understands the question. If it didn't understand the question, like, what are the thingy values for country? See, it put it in red, okay? And what I can do, though, is I can actually tell it what that red's going to be. So as I clicked on it, it gave me a drop down to say, okay, what are you talking about? Are you talking about what is the thingy value for sales territory? Actually, it's looking at the country here, not at my thingy. But if I go to the right to this little teach button, you'll see that I can create synonyms. So I can define a synonym, in this case, internet sales, and what can I add thingy to add synonyms. So I should add that synonym to here. And I should have thought about it and produced something. And it did. Ah, there it goes. Yeah. So the thingy for the country. So it found the value based on my definition of thingy. Let's see what it used. Should have used the sales for that. But that's the Q&A. It's supposed to be replaced by Copilot, but it's still there. Only reason I'm showing you this is because this is already in there. And so Q&A, which is the natural language, was already in there before Copilot.
As someone who doesn't use Power BI a lot, does it accept like UTF-8 in that? Like, can I give it, so like for business,
What is UTF-8?
niche business specific language, right? Can I like put a Japanese word in there and synonym it to and synonym it?
Yeah, so we haven't gotten to this.
Okay.
But it's a good question. If I do the prep data for AI, I can add AI instructions. So have you ever used any sort of AI tools yet?
Yeah.
Where you put instructions in here? Well, I can add an instruction to say, thingy, I don't know if it's ever going to work. Thingy is internet sale. Yes, sales. All right. So your language, revenue, revenue is sales. GPM is gross profit margin. Like that. So I could, this is very primitive instructions, but I don't know if you've ever seen the instructions for any AI is more of a markup language. So you can use the pound, pound, pound value, emphasis on certain language. And then you can type paragraphs in there. I'm just trying to be simplistic for it. But you could do all that language inside of here so it interprets it. Yeah. It's good to prep. That's what this button is for, is prepping data for AI. So you have what columns you want to use, what questions you want to answer, and instructions for the AI engine, which is typical of any AI stuff. That if you're defining it, you want to train it in some values, and that's what you're doing. All right, any other questions? I thought Q&A is pretty nice. Oh, and yeah, we saw the synonyms, right? And then also, you got review questions and you got suggested questions. So you can actually build for Q&A your own list of questions inside of here. Some typical questions that might be asked. And when you publish a Q&A, it's on that particular quote dashboard. But in Power BI, when you create a new dashboard and you pin a visual to it, automatically on the top of any dashboard is a Q&A. Let's see if I can show that. I have a dashboard. Oh, can I go back? Yeah. See that little pin? Pin to dashboard. Okay, if I pin, I'm gonna say a new dashboard. BRUG. Pin. And if I go to the dashboard, you'll see on the top Q&A. So to any dashboard you create within the service, it automatically has a Q&A on it. Now do my thingy? No. Did I say thinky or thinky?
Yeah, you said thinky.
Okay.
No, I still didn't see it. Huh? Oh, there, like, what is the thingy about cells? Did it do it? Let's see. How can I tell what the, doesn't tell me what the value is there. But, all right, we'll keep going. I'm all over the map. You guys are messing me up. It's all y'all's fault. You can laugh at bad jokes, or you can't laugh at bad jokes.
Ah,
Thank you.
sure.
So apparently Q&A is going away. That should be replaced full Copilot on everything. So development-wise, what typically I think most people would think is, how can I use Copilot to develop my DAX queries because I don't know DAX? If you don't know it already, there's a thing called quick measures that pretty much will build anything a new person needs. But you can go into the, over on the right here, on the left, I always say right, over on the left, we have a little DAX editor. Or DAX query view. And you can create multiple queries. If you hit Control I, they usually will activate the Copilot. So, I mean, it's even giving you 3 ideas here. You want me to suggest measures, explain a DAX topic, or even write a DAX query. So let me go ahead and ask it to define or create a measure for sales for margin and GPM for sales summary. So in my model currently, if you look over to the right, I have reseller sales and I have internet sales. And I've defined margin and gross profit margin for those. See them there. But for my sales summary, I haven't. Sales summary is just reseller sales plus internet sales. But I want those same measures defined for sales summary. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the little play button. every once in a while too, when you're using Copilot in here, it takes a while for things to happen. So this is one of those cases. So it's really good for a person like me to be doing this presentation because I seem to be able to ramble a lot, a bunch of sentences that don't make a lot of sense while something's running. So you still seem occupied and you don't fall asleep before it actually gets us what we want. That was a good joke. So I created, it defined a measure, okay, and what it should eventually do is evaluate it, which it's not showing me. Turn it down. So because I put the word create a measure, it created the measure. But if I were to go to one of these other queries,
So will it actually add the measure to your model? For you?
you're getting way ahead of me, buddy.
You can't be that far.
Yes, his question was, will it actually create the measure in your model? It doesn't automatically do this, but on the top, there's a button that says update model with changes. But what I'm trying to get at is, if I just say, give me sales summary as GPM and margin, it doesn't create the measure for me. It'll create it within the context of an evaluate. Evaluate's like running a query in DAX. It's like saying select star from table or such and such. And I don't get the definition. It actually did it this time, of course, Of course, this time it did it, but normally it would not. But that defined measure, if you notice here, the defined measures within this query, and the evaluate runs that. I think I could click a run button here, and it'll show me the values here. Usually when you're doing evaluate, you're looking at some slicer within there. But you notice here, it does not, my wheel is not working with the scroll bar on the side, bear with me. It doesn't activate that, it does not activate that button. See that? So what you gotta do is you gotta copy it. That's one y'all know a different way. You put it in a new query and it says update model. Just update the model with that once you test it. I'm not sure why it doesn't do that when it first generates the code. Maybe because you're in Copilot and you got somehow have to exit that context. But if I got something else going on here, like, oh, here's one. So this particular measure, large customer order count, seems to take forever to run. So I could come in here, highlight everything, hit Control I, and ask it to explain this query. And so what Copilot will do is if someone's defined this huge measure in your model, you can script it out into here. So I can come over right here to the field pane, I guess you call it. I'm going to do quick queries here. So I can go quick query, define and evaluate, define with references and evaluate, define all measures in this model. I could script that stuff out into this query window and then highlight it and say, Copilot, tell me what this is. Even better yet, I could probably tell it, hey, can you add this description into the description field of the measure? So I can define that, copy, paste, or add it within it. The nice part here is it gives you a definition. Let's see if I can stretch it out now. This query defines and evaluates a measure called large customer order count. The measure counts the number of unique sales orders in the internet sales table, but only for orders where the sales amount is greater than 500. So there's performance problems with it because it's got to go look at each row to find each row that has a sales over 500 before it does the distinct count. And there's a way in DAX to rearrange that in your filter context so it doesn't perform as bad. But that's a nice little gadget it gives to you. It defines the DAX functions you're using, the filter, like only includes, and it tells you that evaluate statement returns a single row, single column table with the result. And of course, on the bottom, if you can't see, Copilot uses AI, always verify content for mistakes. Read terms. It's even a better joke. Explain, that's what I just showed you, was explain DAX. So it does do a good job if you're new to learning it, or if you've inherited systems. I was talking to someone on the phone the other day, and this person was animate about me explaining what advanced DAX I know. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to learn advanced DAX. That's just a waste of time. I'm like, I know I can go to SQLBI.com and probably find an example to get the advanced DAX. I said, I don't have to learn that. But still, give me what you think. Just give it to you. Because there's no way, it's just like a programming language. You're not going to be able to learn every single thing. I like me, I mean, if you're talking about, like the business has this one way to calculate EBITDA, did I say that right? EBITDA? I hope I said it right to her. I was like, if they have one certain way to do that, you're fine. We'll go build something to do it. But if you have a good data model, you don't have to learn advanced DAX. So I mean, if you've inherited something that has this like sheet-long DAX calculation, I'd be wary of it. Because something else is wrong.
There's something wrong in your warehouse.
The model's not accurate.
Right. Your design, your data model is not fitting the thing. She didn't get it. I scratched my head. I mean, I used to be animate to try to learn that. Like when those multi-dimensional cubes, I was trying to learn MDX. It like blew my mind. I mean, I'd fall out in exhaustion at the end of the day to try to figure things out. You know, that's why they created the tabular model at DAX, but they didn't create it. Microsoft didn't, but another group did to simplify. You know, and it's kind of like Excel functions. You know. All right. So if I'm designing a report, I can ask for suggestions. So let's go open a report. Of course, is anyone online asking questions?
Nope, we don't have any questions right now.
Do you have
Let's
anyone
move online.
There are people online.
All right.
Half
Hey,
dozen.
everybody, thanks for coming. All right, so say for instance, I've got a model. I don't know anything about it. I want to create a report. In the upper right, there's a Copilot button, and I actually give you some suggestions. I think there's a common denominator of always having 3 prompts and all this stuff. Don't want to create a new report. Don't want to suggest content for a new report, or ask a question about the data. So I mean, I could come in here and just say, you know, what is the sales summary for each year sliced by country? And so what the side Copilot's doing now is it's trying to think, the question doesn't say anything specific about a report, it's asking something about the data. So now it's going to examine the data and try to give me something to, kind of like a narrative did, just give me some context about the data itself. What I could have done and should have done was say, with a column chart, in addition to a slicer by year, or a donut chart with the categories, and then it would create that for me. Interesting, it says it's generating DAX, which is odd, because usually it tells you not to generate DAX. But now I get a table on the right. It's got the year, and it's got the sales territory across. But what I didn't tell it was to do this in a report. But it does give me a response to what I asked. Usually you want to go to that first paragraph, and the first paragraph kind of tells you what it did. Or more or less, if it didn't do something because there wasn't good context to the question, it'll ask you something about that. For instance, when we prep the data for AI, you can also say always ask user for more information about something. So you can actually, in the instructions for it, tell it to prompt you additionally for information. Based on available data, sales summary for each data broken down by country is provided by the table. What's interesting is there's two countries in the model. One's on the customer and one's in the sales territory. And it decided to pick one. I think it picked the one in sales territory. But some of the prompts, it'll tell you, it'll say, hey, there's two countries. Which one do you want? You want sales territory or do you want the customer country? Because those are two different, that's two different ways to group the data. I'm surprised it told me that. You can expand the answer or even, and it's not consistent so far from what I've seen on the ending. Like the ending sometimes might say, do you want to add this to the report or do you want to create it in a new page? Do you want to create it in the existing page? But in this time, it just said, how did we arrive on it? It just kind of tells you how it broke it down. You know, if I wanted to create, measure for sales summary GPM, it should puke at this one. Another bad joke I could laugh at. I am unable to create new measures of calculated columns directly within Power BI. However, I can guide you on how to create a measure for sales summary GPM, gross profit margin, using DAX. So look, it found my instructions. Remember I said GDP is gross profit margin?
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it finally found that in my prep data for AI. So it defined, I should probably ask you a dumb question about thinking now. If you want to create the measure, here's the formula. It doesn't, so within the side pane Copilot, I can't create measures, even though it said generating DAX earlier, which is odd. So it must have been generating evaluate to return the value that it needed, but it won't create it here. I have to go to that DAX query area to actually define a measure. It won't do it inside here. So let me go back to that previous one.
So can you actually tell it, like, whenever it gives you something like that, can you tell it to put it in the report? Like, go ahead and add this to that tab?
What do you want me to tell it?
Like, earlier you had asked it and it gave you the visuals with all the data, right?
Yeah,
Can you say, add this to the tab?
So do the question and then the next statement say add it.
Right.
Add it as a column. Add as column chart to current page. Like that?
Right.
I don't know, bro.
Let's find out.
What I think it's going to be I would be confused. I mean, the second question or the first question.
Right.
That's what I was saying. It was kind of inconsistent there. Sometimes it would prompt me and say, "Do you want to add this to the report?"
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because if it's giving you the answers, like it seems like this is more used to query your data model with natural language than it is to help you build the dashboard.
It appears I was unable to add a column chart for that. So it still thought it was on the first one. So let me go back to that one. I shouldn't wait. Like I could have just added to the context of that question. Add to page as column chart. So I'm back to the first question. I copied and pasted. See, I think that's what it said. I think it thinks that was the last thing that I asked. We'll get there sooner or later. Now what it could do is let's go to the report I did earlier. I'm gonna edit the one that's been deployed. and I clicked on the button, create new report page. I just want to show you all this. This is actually kind of cool. Look at that, spelled all that right. Create new report page, RF sales and margin with GPM with indicators and slice by year in one visual and month in a bar chart with the donut chart.
Nice.
Does that answer your question? That was actually faster than, it still didn't do it. Yeah, that was actually faster on the service than it was on my local machine. Let me see if I can't copy that. And put it. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to type that. Ah! Oh, well. I'm glad they got a cancel button.
Right?
Yeah. That might take a while. I guess I need an MPC server locally and it'll be found. Oh, no, look.
MCP.
What's that?
MCP.
Did I say it wrong?
MCP.
Shows you how behind the times I am. I've had, like, as an MVP, you have access to private previews. And I still got an email saved when the Microsoft PM asked us to go try out MPC servers before it was public preview. I never did it.
What about MCP servers? Did you get an email to try those? Okay.
So there you go. It created a new report. Yeah. Add a table matrix to lower right of page with IS sales sliced by category hierarchy. See if it thinks that. So I'm asking it to create a table matrix, which should have the drillables on the left. And I think I have a category hierarchy, category, subcategory, product inside the product table. And I'm wondering if it could pull that out for me. Or can it see that there's a relationship between category, subcategory, and product, which is then related to internet sales. You know. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Almost got it, yeah. So it put the category, it doesn't look like it made it a table matrix. It did, oh wow. So it didn't put it put the subcategory in the column instead of on the rows. That's how it wanted it, like that. Almost, yeah, it gives you a start, you know. Especially if you're new to it and you're trying to learn all that stuff. That's a lot of visuals here. It's a lot of visuals there. You know, how do I know which one? That's like your question is, how do I know which one to use? It's a lot of trial and error. I wish I had. I remember having it on this machine, but I used to make it my background image of my screen was a visual picker, like. That's how I learned time series goes to bees, you know. There's a funnel where you want to see things from highest to lowest. There's a KPI gauge, so you put a value like this with a target, a lower limit, an upper limit. You know, so that's how you learn a lot of these things. Card visual is what you see up here. RF sales, just a value. That's a card visual. And the column versus bar depends on how many attributes you have across. And also, if you can see here, the drilling up and down there, that's usually an indicator of some sort of hierarchy. So you pick a certain type of chart that you can drill in and then drill back out. So it's a lot of trial and error. Is that a good way to put it? Not asking you, kidding, I was asking. Well, we already looked at part of this, so prep data for AI. So, if you don't prep the data for AI, it's a whole lot less likely that it's going to figure out what to do. If you prep it, it's going to more likely give you better answers to your questions. There is a setting in your tenant that say that Copilot can only use data if it's been prepped. So you can turn it on for your whole tenant, you can turn it on for certain users. Usually in Power BI, they suggest create what's called security groups in your, it used to be AAD, now it's Entra ID. Did I say that right? Intra or Entra ID. Security group versus a group, whatever. But that's usually what you want to do. So you complete in the desktop, you publish the model, but you also can add additional stuff once it's published as well, which you used to not be able to do that.
So what flags? What flags the data for prep? I mean, that's gold. It's a gold standard, if you will.
So let's go into we're just gonna go to this main visual right now. So the first thing you'd want to do is, based on your visual, is you go to the ellipse and you tell it set up a verified answer. So this is the first step.
Okay.
You go to the visuals and it gives you some options. Which countries contribute the most to reseller sales? What share of sales does each country have? Which country has the highest reseller sales? So I'm picking 3 suggestions that the prep for AI is suggesting that I use. But if I wanted additional questions, what I'm writing questions for is, what would this visual answer? What can this visual answer? So I'm developing questions. So, they can, when you do AI, I'm learning a lot of this now. It's these vector databases. And the vector databases have values on letters, subwords, and words. And the combination of those spits out a conversation back to you. This is more not conversational AI as it's the other AI where it's producing something that triggers something. So here you're trying to define some questions that relate to this. So when someone types in natural language, it has something better to match to.
Oh, okay. So you're not necessarily validating, you're creating a contextual questions that would allow the end user to enter similar questions and say, these are the boundaries or guardrails for the data I'm after.
Right.
How can you ensure that it doesn't go out to a different data set and intermingle those 2 pieces of information? So this is a singular data set. How do you know that?
I don't think this can go outside.
Okay, so
it's all within.
It's very
It's all
scoped.
within this semantic model.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a data agent later, where we're going to pull in 2 different data sets.
Okay. All right.
He had a question.
I guess it doesn't have to be exact, right? So if you ask something similar to that proposed verified question, it'll fuzzy match it, right?
In my opinion, right, correct. In my opinion, what I should put in here is I should say which sales territory country contributes the most reseller sales. I should also not say sales or country, because there's reseller sales, there's internet sales, and there's sales somewhere. So I need to be specific on what I'm asking for. And I think one thing you were alluding to too, Doug, is, am I validating the result?
Right.
No.
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 Okay.
It's just using this visual based on if you said America's reseller sales, we can go to this visual and pull out American sales because it's calculated.
Yeah, a lot of this, what's probably happening on the back end is it's probably building a knowledge graph of some sort, all through your data based on the questions that you're asking. So if it knows what the questions are, it can figure out the relationships in the data and then build a knowledge graph using that with those relations. And what happens is that it's a lot faster to query than querying actual data.
It's pre-calculated.
Yeah.
Kind of like some of these measures you see here are pre-calculated based on the hierarchies. So it comes back faster. That's the whole point of a semantic model, is to do pre-aggregations for you.
How big of a model can you have?
So a model, so you know, you said the word model. So when you say to me model, I'm thinking semantic model. So semantic model is the data I build into a model to feed measure data here. But model in AI means I'm building some sort of machine learning model to do predictions. So which model would you talk about?
You're talking about the data model?
Yes.
Okay, the data model depends on your capacity. So I can, on my desktop, create something about up to a gig. There's a setting in Power BI called large model versus small model. By making a large model, I can post this model to the capacity and tell it to do a refresh with a different set of parameters. And with a pro license, without a capacity, it can get almost up to 10 gigs. I say almost because in the pro license world, if you got like 100 people with pro licenses, then 100 people have that limit if it's in your tenant. But if I have a capacity, capacity tells me the size of the model limit. It goes from 1 gig all the way up to 400 gigs, depending on what capacity size you have. If you have a 400 gig semantic model, we're in a lot of trouble because there's not much. When I was at 3Cloud, my colleague went to do an analysis of these people. They had Azure analysis services, which is in the cloud of a tabular at 400 gigs. The cost of that service was less than the highest capacity you could buy for Power BI. It was almost twice the cost. So the analysis service was cheaper. Put it in Power BI. They had a 400 gig. They were constantly having to archive data off in order to put new data in. It was a huge company. I can't even tell you the company. It was an investment company. It's like trillions of dollars in numbers. I got to see some of them. Like 11 trillion in this investment. It was ridiculous.
So I do have a question.
He had one before you. Did you still remember?
With everyone now wanting to go to a one-stop shop and just click the Copilot button and talk to it, does it offer you list, like you're putting in questions that you want to refer to a specific visual, right?
Yeah.
Is there a nice, easy way to have a random user go in and just say, hey, I need to learn some things? Well, earlier you showed like it said, oh, you can ask questions. Here's some example questions. Can you make it prompt them with your preferred verified questions? Verified answers, verified questions, whatever you want to call those.
The Q&A lets you pick from suggested questions. That's the only part on there that does that.
Okay.
Fabric has features where you can build agents outside of Power BI
I was gonna show
that can read semantic models and write backs and answer questions.
I'm about to show that.
Great.
So, on the prep data for
Well,
AI,
I thought he had a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
on the prep data for AI thing that you just had open, it had the AI instructions area. Have you found that you need to tell it to let you know if it doesn't know an answer because it makes stuff up?
I was trying to do the
or
thing
does it
thing,
happen
but it wasn't
automatically?
working. I have not used it enough to answer that question.
Okay.
I really have.
Because I know if you're dealing with raw models, you generally have to tell them, hey, if you don't know the answer, tell me you don't know the answer, or else it'll just make up an answer.
Oh, no, it'll tell you if you can't get an answer.
Okay.
I've gotten that plenty of times.
All right, good. So it's already baked into the problem, into the system.
Plenty of times it said, I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, once it started saying, I don't know what you need, it would not stop. I just shut everything down. Because it wouldn't, that was the answer every time.
Yeah, it's.
I don't have enough context. I don't have enough things to whatever. I'm like, All right, so that was the Power BI Copilot stuff. I did show the, one more thing. Let me go back to this before I skip. How's my time?
So,
7:04.
Is that early or late?
You're about an hour in.
Oh, that's not bad.
They kick us out of here at 9.
All right, so in the upper left of your main, like if you're just in your main page, there's the Copilot button. And so someone could come into Copilot and say, find reports about sales summary. And because I'm so general, it's going to take a while to get back. But here is your freeform Copilot. So if I'm a user just looking for data, everything I have access to, including limitations by row level security and access, will only return to me what I can see. So within the security of Power BI in the tenant, it will only show me those reports that I can actually see. And it can go look in there and figure out which ones had sales summary. At first, with internet, it used to give you more information here, but now it doesn't. Like it used to give you last time you accessed the report, another prompt that you can drill in further, but it's limited now. But it did create a description of the report. Analysis of internet sales across product categories, territory, customer demographics, tracking sales, margin costs, and trends over time. And that is not even defined within the report itself. So it actually pulled that back. I can also say, give me internet sales or sales territory country in report, and then there's a plus sign. I can say report, and I can pick the report element. So now I can be specific with my question directly at an artifact within my team, which is really cool.
that is,
What's that?
that is cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. There's a button right there. It's kind of fizzled out, like a few prompts. So the suggested questions there might be a way to not programmatically, but instructions define those things right there. So it went and found the report, it went and looked in that report and found a chart. That's one of the filters, not filters. What's it called? Funnel. Thank you. Funnel visuals. And what it said, country, region, name. That's a problem. Yeah, that's from the sales territory. So that's correct. And it just found that the years were 2014, 2010. I have really old data. And it was all of these reports. But it gives me explore the answer or view and report. So I'll get two options to drill further into there. And that's that query by example type that pops up. So I can switch the visual real quick. Look at a list of them. And then I have what I can put inside the report. I'm trying to see if there's, add a filter. So here I might just say, order day, year, it's less than 11. So now I'm interacting with the results from the Copilot. I can click on view prompts now. So that's just the three default things in the action. Pretty cool. All right, now I'm gonna get to what my great friend Terrio was trying to talk about. This is what's called a data agent. So now Power BI create something called data agent. I named this one for my smiling group attendees who are going to give me great reviews. It's a good name. It's a good name. Very descriptive. I really use. What's that?
Is that for a different session?
I did this at PASS. I was trying to get good. But this is something that's just come out, really cool stuff, and you can build a data agent. So let me go into here. This is all public preview, but it's pretty sketchy at some parts, if it works right. So I'm gonna create a new item. I'm in the service. I'm gonna create a data agent. It's in preview. Give it a name. The Great Crowd and BRUG. BRUG. I say that to my son. My son's 11. You know, he doesn't know what BRUG is. His dad's a dork. So now they're integrating agent creation inside of Power BI. So you get a blank canvas. The first thing you gotta do is add a data source. What usually works best inside of the data source now is a lake house, or at least when it initially was created, it only allowed a lake house and a semantic model. So I have a lake house here, LH small DW. It's Parquet files put into Delta tables in a lake house and a fabric capacity. I'm gonna pick that one and add it. It's gonna validate it to make sure it can query the data. If you can't query it, it's gonna return an error, and then it's gonna constantly flip arrows in your little what is that called, notification? Like I had a problem with one, and just every 5 seconds it was posting an error inside of, because it couldn't read what was in there. That's because I didn't have, I picked a lake house on a workspace. I was on a capacity that was paused. So it's paused, so it couldn't query. So here I'm telling it now, from that model, what do I want it to look at? I'm gonna say the customer table, date, internet sales, sales reason, internet sales reason, product category, subcategory. Actually, I'll take care of it. What's that?
No, go ahead.
And so just by selecting that itself, I can click something like, what are the historical trends across all my data? Or I could say, give me total sales for sales reason. And the reason I'm doing this is because this model it's not a semantic model, so there's no defined relationships. It's all just straight tables from the Parquet files. So there's no foreign keys to indicate the relationship. For sales reason, and if you're ever going to build a semantic model in a relationship, you can only have one column and one column in the Power BI semantic models. In this case, sales reason is a many to many. Internet sales is a fact table sales reason, because there could be more than one reason on a one line item into a dimension of sales reason. So if I ask this question, it should not be able to return the answer. Now I would say should not, because when I first did it, it did not. And I had to put an instruction in there to tell it how to join the two tables together. But the last time I ran it, for some reason, it produced a result to just totally mess up my doing it, because it worked. Here's the neat thing. If I drill into the one step completed, I can see it analyzed the lake house for that question, and then it actually gave me the coding. I mean, I'm expecting some wow right now. I mean,
It is.
and it knew the two, the join on order number, and line number.
Just based on your naming conventions.
You think that's it? Yeah, I'm guessing.
It's just taking its best guess, right? How
When I first did it, it did not work. I had to put instructions to say this is a many to many, and you need to use order number and line number to join these two tables
How
together.
long ago was that first time whenever it didn't work?
Probably about, I did that presentation in November.
Okay, that's because we have a new model behind
Could be.
Copilot.
What I think is it stole my thought process in the other one.
Yeah, and the newer GPT models are better agentic thinking.
But that was, when people came to talks here, I know Balaji had people talking about modeling, and that was always my question: how can it learn from what I just did? How do I plug that information back in? You know, you're saying the LLM is just studying more things and it's built up its base.
No, actually, the LLM is better, was trained to do multi-step processing better. So what happens is the LLM goes, okay, how do I need to figure this out? It gives itself an answer, and then it goes do those steps, and then, okay, is this enough information, or do I need to do more? And it keeps doing that and iterating.
So watch this.
The model never changes.
Watch this. What is the total from summing individual sales reason totals and the overall total? What do y'all think should happen here? If you can have more than one sales reason on a line number, the total should be what? Should be off. Because it's a many to many. So a line item, $100 is going to be in this sales reason, and it's going to be included on another sales reason. The sum of individuals, 30,856, 531.52, and the overall total sales amount combined is the same thing. It's the sum of the individual match. No, they should not match because one sale, more than one sales reason can be on the same line number. You're absolutely right.
No.
We got some learning to do. Question.
So, you might aim for this question. So, the question, in general, I'm like watching you build this report. How, and the conversations about Copilot. So, how quickly is Microsoft taking away the report building portion of this? And how more important is it just picking the data and making sure the data is prepped? Like, how fast do you see that movement? Because I'm considering, you know, obviously, I'm a programmer, I'm not building reports, I don't have Power BI certifications. But the speed at which I see more Copilot than anything makes me reconsider portions of what I'm calling. So I want to know what's your thoughts.
I don't have the answer to that. I'm gonna repeat his question. Really, he's asking, when is the report writer going away because Copilot can answer everything?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I took what was called quantitative business analysis in college. It's ISDS today, but it's statistics. You had science. You had the science of statistics. You had material requirement planning, and then you had the MIS part. And back then, you had a curve that you had confidence in, which usually was 95% confidence. But you could say, yeah, it picked something correct. I think that's shrinking to like that 67% confidence, and people in the business are less hardcore on having it totally confident. So, in my opinion, it's all my opinion, it all depends on what the business is going to tell you how accurate you need to be. If they're going to say you need to be totally accurate, if you're going to still have a data analyst, you're going to still have a QA department, you're still going to build reports to verify.
Assuming they are getting accuracy.
It's who can go less accurate, and when does it become a problem? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a risk reward, and then it's also a time thing, right? So if I'm a CEO and I want a dashboard where whenever I walk in the morning, I can see these couple of figures, so I know if something's going way off the wall. I don't want to have to type in, hey, is there anything I need to worry about with Copilot? I just want to be able to open up my computer. Oh, yep, I know these things are good. I'll move on. But if I want more deep analysis, digging through a bunch of charts and drill downs versus asking Copilot, I probably is gonna be better for them.
I mean, but look at this, it got it wrong. And when I
But that's
pointed it out, it tells me I'm right. So, it's always that thing on the bottom.
But if you were using a semantic model as your source instead of just
That's
raw
right.
data, then it would know
If
what
you
to do.
properly data model,
So what he's saying is, if you're using a semantic model, which has well-formulated tables, well-defined joins, and everything's well-built, which is part of report writing, then Copilot's gonna give you accurate answers, because your data has been formulated to spit out accuracy. So this here, I've got that set up, it's internet sales. I go to data source, and I go pick that model I just had, hopefully it doesn't bomb. And now I've got these parquet files in a lake house that's doing its own joins on the fly. Now I'm moving in a semantic model that has reseller sales. And now I can tell this agent to sum those two things together. I can give it instructions to say, hey, go get internet sales from the lake house and go get reseller sales from my semantic model, and then combine them together. So now what I've just done in this case, which I don't know if it's coming to or not. Make it, yeah, it made it in. Now I've got two models. But one, I'm not gonna pick the internet sales, I'm gonna pick the reseller sales and just use that. Now I've built two different data sources, one a lake house, one a semantic model, put it in one data agent. This is what I think the future of using the agent in Power BI is gonna do. Apparently they built onto it, because
Yeah, I was talking about eliminating the portion of
yeah,
building the model or picking the right data or knowing the architecture of how to pull things together. More so, I don't enjoy report building. So that I read the prompt and I know if there's any questions to ask.
yeah, me and you're opposite. I rather use the AI to write code and then build my own reports.
well, so actually, if that's the way that you're looking at it, though, you can always use pre-made prompts to have AI generate the report. So if you have a pre-made prompt that you're already just going to pass to the model, saying, make a bar graph or XYZ, you already know that's the right stuff, and you verified, maybe you've given the correct formulas and all that stuff, then you're not building a report, you're letting AI do it for you, and you can even do it on the fly if you want. So it's just a question of how you want to do in your application, how you want to generate reports. Do you want to pass a prompt to an LLM that has access to your data, or do you want to do it the old-fashioned way? It's cheaper to do it the old-fashioned way because you're going to have to pay for that compute for the LLM every time that someone goes to the report. So you have to keep those cost options in mind, but that's also an option.
I think it depends on the business too. I mean,
Yeah.
are they gonna accept it or not? You know?
And AI agents already do a decent job of writing full stack apps. It's
Right.
it's going to be able to build reports pretty faster than you would expect.
Yeah, and actually, I've written an application that has probably about 30 reports in it right now. And actually, when I say written an application, I told GitHub Copilot to write it for me.
I got one more demo I wanna show y'all, and then we can get some shit chat afterwards. Just a couple more things here. There is a setup button here, so you can actually do individual data source instructions, and you can actually create example queries. So I could have written the one that joined the sales reason together and added it to part of the instructions of the model itself. Once you do that, there's a publish button. I could publish this. And then inside of, they just added this recently. Now you can actually build code to retrieve it. So I've got a notebook here. I actually got two more demos. Let's flip it out. There we go. So now you can actually build a notebook to import a library. This is the name of my data agent. This is a function that just parses the message and makes it pretty. This is using the GPT 4.0 model. It is, this code is still beta. But then it'll actually go in and I can send a question to that model, top 5 sales reasons for internet sales, and it'll spit out an answer for me. So now, before you couldn't do anything except within the DA interface, now they're providing code. Simpi is where it's getting it from to bring in the data from there. One last thing, I was thinking when I was doing the presentation before, I was like, where would Copilot really help? I'm thinking Power Query. You know, maybe it can help me with Power Query. So I went to the store. What was it? You see where my mind is too. Still in the gutter.
Truly tried.
Yeah, they killed Azure Data Studio, and they're going to stick with management studio. Kill it. Kill it. Yeah. They rolled it in the VS Code. Okay. Sounds like they're not working on it at all. It's rolled a slang term or something.
Microsoft can't go 6 months without renaming something and moving somewhere.
So I bought a new computer too. It's got an ARM CPU and you cannot install SQL Server on ARM.
It's protecting you from yourself.
No, dude, that you should return that computer.
If I go to transform data, I'm like, oh, cool. Let me look at Power Query. You gotta have Copilot in there. No Copilot. So in the desktop, Power Query, no Copilot. Okay, let me go to the servers. Let me take my chances with him. Dataflow Gen 2, which I think is actually a Gen 3. None of y'all use Dataflows apparently. All right. So I'm gonna do a Dataflow. When I created this earlier, that checkbox was disabled and automatically checked. Now it's not. So I'm like, what would be a good use of Copilot in Power Query? Any ideas what y'all would use it for? It's here. It's actually here on the line. Let me pull in a text file.
Like, I guess having to do joins and so forth.
Joins? What kind of format do you want your semantic model to be in? What do they call it? The data model, the data mark should be a
Star schema.
star schema. Thank you. So what do most people give you?
An access data.
Ding, 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 ding.
Or if you have a bunch of developers with a bunch of JSON files.
Oh, that would have been a great. Oh, that would have been a great demo. All right, so I've got a flat internet sales. It's got order. It's got internet sales, customer, product, and date. I'm gonna make some mistakes because I'm just that kind of a guy. Where's my Copilot? All right. I mean, do you see the first issue with the file coming in?
Yeah, it didn't change all the others.
Coming. Thank you. But watch me. I want to get stuff done. I ain't even looking at the data. You know, create a new query for product dimension from this data. What do you think? Take a guess, guys. Hurry. Is it gonna work?
Hard to figure it out
Yeah, it won't work.
if it's smart enough. It's literally gonna do that. My experience with, yeah, okay.
Pick product name, color, subcategory, category. Didn't give it no context at all. Except product dimension. If I said product, has a little problem. I said product dimension, it seems to get it.
Can we look at the M code?
Then I make the mistake. What should I do?
Well, I was asking what the M code looked like that it generated.
First row is headers, right?
Oh, there it is.
I just broke it.
Yes. Took me like 3 times to figure out what I did wrong. It's gonna stay broken, but guess what?
Can you help fix it?
I'm gonna
Fix the product query.
For some reason now my typing is getting better. I guess that nervousness has gone down. I'm out of the women's restroom.
What does that mean?
For people who came in late, that's gonna
Yeah,
be
for
really weird.
people, yeah, we're not explaining it.
Like what?
For the people who are here on time, it's still a little weird.
With just relationship keys and measure numeric data. This is where it doesn't work. At least it didn't.
I told them to go back and write the tables to build your data warehouse.
Yes, it didn't do it at all. Yeah, it's really, it can't quite get that right. But I thought that was a good use.
That's still pretty good, yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, when he can recognize the attributes being related to product versus date versus customer, I thought that was.
Which it's only as good as your naming conventions, right? So, yeah.
None of those columns, let's see. I see what you're saying. So date would be good, customer though.
Like for your product dimension, all of those columns that built must have had product in the name, I'm guessing, right? So that was relates to product.
That should bottom. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it again. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, this is the last idea I had worked with us.
It's hard for me to celebrate, but take my job away.
Frees you up to do other things.
Yeah, so what would you do? You said it would take your job.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, don't say take your job away, but how could you use this to do that?
No, I mean, it makes my job easier. I mean, hopefully everybody in here uses AI all the time.
But I mean, if you could get a flat file in and it dimensional normalizes it for you and builds a semantic model, and then you just kind of clean everything up, that's pretty good. Gives me more time to read articles. Yeah, subcategory, category, color, there's no product name in there. I mean, how would it, I guess color of a person, customer would be, right?
I mean, if you notice though, there's specialized knowledge that you have to have for that to work in the first place. You're not gonna have some business user that's going to know to say product dimension versus product, right? So even just telling the AI how to do its work, you still have to have enough knowledge in the domain to be able to do that. So from a job elimination standpoint,
Oh, sure.
instead it's just putting you closer to the business.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a data analyst, but I have to be a data analyst sometimes. When I'm looking at a customer's data, I mean, my thought process almost while doing data architect work is always, what can I see to show them that they're not seeing? It's a constant thought process for me. I'm like constantly thinking, I'm trying to show value to them of a consultant. I'm like, what else can I possibly give these people? The context I feel or struggle with is the right language to present it to them. You know, that's my, I mean, if I had a Copilot, voice, Thomas Mind filter, when the vomit comes out my mouth, it'd be great. I mean, that's,
I
that
use
would be
persona like that
greatest
a lot.
Copilot for me, you know, soft skill Copilot. But that's what's hot.
So we can do some speech to text, right through an LLM, saying, take out the vomit portions, and then do a text to speech, and then it can come right back out.
I was at IEO, and this guy wanted to use Excel spreadsheet to read data. And I'm like, that's insane. Well, bullshit. That was like 25 years ago too, and I still haven't gotten away from that. What I'm talking about. So, but my thought process, I mean, when I'm working with data, I'm continuously thinking, if I was an analyst, what do I need to point out to that person that could be useful for them? The issue I used to have is I'd add everything to a model, because I think they're gonna need to use it all. And my mind process now, just give them what they need and keep on the back burner these other things. It's so easy now to go in and add additional stuff in a semantic model. It used to be a pain in the butt, but now it's so easy to pull stuff in and out. It's not that big a deal. Last thing I talk about the settings. So I did talk about one where you could tell it not to use Copilot with unprepped data. So you can control that. You do have to enable Copilot features. There's a couple of features that say you can't move the data out of your tenant. So you're in US West, it can't go out of that region. You can control that. You tell it can't send it to OpenAI's, you know, European office and stuff like that. There's a bunch of other, about 6 of those checkboxes. I didn't think they were worth putting on here. You do need a premium or fabric capacity. It used to be you needed an F64. Now you can actually have an F2. To develop, you still need a pro or a premium per user license. That's your individual license to develop. It's not where you're deploying to capacity, even though you can deploy with a pro and a PPU license. In that self-service Copilot, if you go into it the first time, it's going to ask you for a workspace. You've got to be assigned in your desktop and on the service, assigned to a workspace in one of those capacities, and the workspace has to be turned on. So in Fabric, you can turn capacities on and off, so it has to be on. There's still preview features. You got to go check them for summary for Copilot, improved Q&A for Copilot, prep data for AI. It's all check boxes, and then you got to select that workspace. Thank you very much, Thomas LeBlanc. I'm more on Blue Sky than Twitter, so Power BI dude. If you get on Blue Sky, smileandDBA@gmail.com, and then I'm mainly on LinkedIn. So thank you very much.